ICT himself said you can quit your job and become a profitable trader from this one strategy alone. Now, some people even call this the ATM machine because you can withdraw money and extract money from the markets following this one system alone. Now, I'm going to walk you through every single rule that you need to follow. I'm going to show you some examples of the strategy playing out, and I'm also going to show you some examples where the strategy doesn't work out and where I wouldn't look for trades to give you guys a better understanding of the strategy overall. Now, just before we carry on, we're on a 7-day winning streak in the signals room. We've made 18% in the signals room from just 7 days of trading. Now, every single trade was sent out to the team with the exact entry, exact stop loss, and exact take profits. And members also get access to my weekly market breakdown videos. The value in here is absolutely crazy. For literally just $1 a day, $30 a month, the special offer is still available. So go ahead, click the link in the description below if you want to go ahead and join. And remember, you get access to my weekly market breakdowns, my exact chart work and analysis, and you get access to my exact live trade. So go ahead and join. Also, if you want access to hundreds of thousands of dollars, we will pass the funded challenge for you and get you funded, and you don't pay a single penny until after we pass the challenge for you. Yes, you heard that right. We will pass the challenge for you, get you on that live funded stage, and you don't pay a single penny until after we pass the challenge for you and you see the results yourself. Now, we have the fastest passes in the industry. We funded a $200,000 account in 2 minutes, the max funding allocation funded in 2 minutes for a client, and that client didn't pay a single penny until after we passed the funded challenge for them. And you also get access to the signals room for completely free once you get funded with the funded fast service and once we get you on that live funded stage. And remember, you don't pay a single penny until after we pass. Now, if we fail the challenge for you for whatever reason, you get a full refund, what you paid us for the service and what you paid for the challenge. So you cannot go wrong. It's literally a zero risk investment and it's a guaranteed funded account waiting for you. And so many of you gamble your funded challenges away and blow money when it comes to these funded challenges, but with us it's a guaranteed pass. So you save that money, you save that time, and you save that stress of failing your own funded challenge. With us it's a guaranteed pass, and I'll leave the link to this in the description below, so go ahead and join that if you haven't already. All you have to do is send a message to Funded Fast on Telegram to go ahead and secure yourself a spot. The link to the signals room and the Funded Fast service will both be in the description below, so go ahead and join that. And remember, my completely free community will also be in the description below. So as you can see, I've got a set of rules here and I've got a diagram to give you guys a better understanding of the strategy before we jump on the live market examples. Now, we're going to be using the London kill zone for this. It starts at around 7:45 AM UK time, which is around 2:45 AM New York time. Now, you can look for trades if the setup is valid slightly before 7:45, but ideally I would like to stick to this time onwards. Now, you might have heard of the power of 3: accumulation, manipulation and distribution. But specifically, where does this occur? Accumulation usually occurs in the Asian session, manipulation usually occurs in the London or London kill zone session, and then distribution occurs in London and New York crossover. So we're simply going to use the 3-step method. We're going to use a sweep, a PD array, and we're going to look for confirmation. Now, I'm going to show you exactly how we do that in a second, but just so you know, we're going to be using the 15-minute, the 5-minute, and the 1-minute time frame. And the pairs it works best on for Forex is Euro USD and GBP USD, and for indices it's NAS 100 and SPX 500. So in this Asian session, as you can see, price is consolidating or ranging. Now, the purpose of this consolidation is to build up liquidity on either side of the market. So retail stops would be above this high and retail stops would be below this low. That's why we call it buy side liquidity above the high and sell side liquidity resting below the lows. Now, as you can see, this is a massive buildup of liquidity, and this is where Asian session ends. Now, at the London kill zone, price will usually sweep in one direction. So as you can see in this scenario, price has swept liquidity to the upside, leaving the sell side liquidity untapped, but sweeping this buy side liquidity from this high right here. Now, as you can see, after price has swept that liquidity, this is where we're going to be most interested, because this is a manipulation phase. This is the accumulation phase, and this is the manipulation phase, and this is where we're trying to catch an entry. Now, at this point, once price sweeps liquidity, I'm usually on the 15-minute or the 5-minute time frame. Now, I like to look for price to tap into a PD array that's resting on the left. So for example, if there's an order block or if there's a fair value gap resting on the left, I'd like price to tap into that area before I start to look for confirmation to take the trade. Now, at times you can enter straight off the PD array if you are confident in the trade setup overall, but again, that wouldn't be enough confirmation that this is a valid setup. So what I like to do is I like to zoom into the 1-minute time frame to look for confirmation in that area. So for example, I would like to look for either a secondary liquidity sweep and then a market structure shift But if there is not a secondary liquidity sweep, such as this example right here, price did not sweep the high on the 1 minute time frame, I would then wait for a market structure shift showing me that price does want to move to the downside, and we can attack sell side liquidity that's resting below these lows right here. Now, a lot of people say you can only enter off the extreme FVG, and this is wrong because you will miss a lot of trade setups if you only wait for the extreme FVG. Now, sure, you can use that as a refinement. Ideally, you want to enter off the earliest fair value gap because you want to get in the trade and catch the whole setup overall. Simply replace our entry at the bottom of the fair value gap, place our stop loss above the high. You can place it above the fair value gap, but again, if you want to be safer, I just place it above the high overall, and then simply target opposing liquidity. Now, I like to look for a set risk to reward ratio of a 1 to 2.5 risk to reward ratio when I look for these trades, but you can target the opposing liquidity that you spotted on the 5 minute or the 15 minute time frame in the Asian kill zone, such as these equal lows, quite obvious liquidity resting below all of these lows right here. And now let's move into the live market examples. So as you can see, we're on GBP USD on the 15-minute time frame. Now you might be wondering, where is the consolidation, where is the accumulation in this scenario overall? Well, first of all, I want you to spot liquidity and obvious liquidity before we look for the Asian kill zone. Now you can see quite obvious equal lows right there. And this is the Asian session overall, and you can see we didn't have a lot of movement right here. This is just overall a build-up of liquidity to the upside and a build-up of liquidity to the downside. Now, price is starting to sweep the liquidity, as you can see, prior to the 245. But what do we have on the left? We have a quite obvious order block right here with a series of down candles right here. This is going to be our order block. This is going to be our PD array. So yes, we have identified our liquidity resting right here, but now because price has swept that liquidity, we can expect price to tap into this order block area before we see a move in the opposite direction, and this is where we're going to be looking for the manipulation entry. This is where we're going to look for confirmation on the lower time frame. As you can see, now price has tapped into our order block area. As you can see, I got the session indicator to show the 2:45 AM open, so I'm going to get rid of that line. Now, as you can see, price has tapped into that order block on the 15-minute time frame, and on the 5-minute time frame as well. You can drop down to look for confirmation, but ideally I want to go down to the 1-minute time frame to catch that entry. Now, if you just look at the price action overall, the main market structure shift area currently is going to be this high right here, but we do have a fractal high that I would keep an eye on. So if price breaks this structure and shifts in market structure with displacement, I would look for an entry of some sort of fair value gap to take the trade in the opposite direction. This is then showing me price has a willingness to move to the upside after price has swept all that liquidity in that Asian session and tapped into the PD array right here. Now, as you can see, as we let price play on the 1-minute time frame, price has swept additional liquidity resting below this 1-minute low right here. Now we have a fractal high right here with this candle's high right there. So this is going to be our area which we're going to look for a market structure shift from. Now, as you can see, price tried closing above this level multiple times, but we did get one candle closure above, and in addition to this, we do have an additional liquidity sweep. So this is going to be where I'm going to look for my FVG entry. Now, if you're familiar with the channel, one thing I always look for is a balanced price range, essentially a fair value gap in alignment with another fair value gap. Now, if I just drag this earliest fair value gap out to the left, you can see we do have a mini fair value gap resting with these three candles right here. So we can expect price to tap into this area before moving in the opposite direction. So as you can see, I'm going to place my entry right here, and I'm going to place my stop loss below this low. I want to be safe. I don't want to put it too tight and place it around 50% and be too greedy and chase that high risk to reward. No, we want to be realistic. We're going to place our stop loss at least at this point over here, or overall below the lows. Now we're going to target the opposing liquidity, and I'm going to go over the targets in a second, but for now I just want to show you the entry and the stop loss placement. Now, as you can see, price perfectly filled in that fair value gap, perfectly filled in that balanced price range right there. As you can see, another 100k challenge passed in 3 minutes from the funded fast service. If you just scroll down, we've got complete transparency, complete proof showing you these accounts that we're passing in literally 3 minutes. 6-figure accounts being funded in 3 minutes. That's absolutely crazy. People take weeks and even months before they reach the funded stage, but with us, they reach that stage in minutes. And don't forget, you also get access to the signals room for completely free once you join with us at the funded fast service. We're on a 7-day winning streak, and we've made 18% in 7 days alone. So go ahead and join right now for $30 a month, literally $1 a day. You cannot go wrong. The value in here is absolutely insane. And don't forget, you don't pay a single penny until after we pass the funded challenge for you and until you see the results for yourself. So it's complete transparency at the funded fast service. As you can see, we've got loads of videos showing these brand new accounts that we're passing every single day. We literally fund our accounts in minutes. So go ahead, get funded at the funded fast service. The link to this will be in the description below. So go ahead, take advantage of the offer. Now back to the trade. You can see price has moved away from our area nicely. And if I just go up to the 5-minute time frame so you guys can see this a bit clearer, you can see where is our opposing liquidity. So this would land you at around a 2.5 risk to reward ratio, which is ideally what I prefer. But again, you can target overall opposing liquidity such as this high and this high over here. As you can see, price sweeps that overall liquidity that we found in the Asian session that was untapped, because what did price do? Price swept the sell side liquidity first, tapped into that PD array, we got that confirmation on the 1 minute time frame, and then we swept that buy side liquidity that was untapped and resting above this high right here. So keep it very, very simple. Now I'm going to show you another example, an example which didn't work out with the confirmation, which a lot of you would have missed out on. So let's get into that one now. Now, as you can see, just prior to 245, what's price done? Now, as you can see, this is the Asian session right here. Price has been obviously consolidating. You could just see the range in price right here, building up loads and loads of liquidity. Now, price did sweep the buy side liquidity right here, but it didn't tap into the PD array on the left, this order block right here, pretty obvious right there. Price has tapped into the PD array. It swept additional liquidity as well as the Asian session liquidity. And like I said, it's tapped into the order block resting on the left right here. So what do? We go down to the 1 minute time frame, and all we're looking for is confirmation. All we're looking for is that market structure shift with displacement to then get in on the entry. As you can see, price does make that market structure shift right here, and this would be our fair value gap, which we're looking to enter off right here. Place our entry at the low of the fair value gap and place our stop loss above the high right here. This is an example of what could happen to you in the real live market examples. Remember, not every trading opportunity is perfect. You will miss some trades, you will lose some. But if you did take the trade off the order block overall and place your stop loss above the high, the risk to reward ratio would be less, but you would still be in the trade. However, I still prefer my confirmation entries where I go down to the 1 minute time frame to see if the trade is still valid. And remember, just because you miss one trade, it doesn't mean the whole trading system is invalid. There will be more opportunities that will be coming. So remember, you just have to be patient with your trading setups. Okay, so now for the last and final example, we're on your USD on the 5 minute time frame. Now, this is just before 2:45 a.m, so just before our trading window opens, and you can take trades just slightly before 2:45 if the trade setup is still valid. Now, as you can see, we had a massive consolidation in the Asian session, and what did price do? It swept the buy side liquidity resting above here, and it also swept this high right here. And as you can see, price has moved up and tapped into a PD array. Now, this specific PD array on the left is a 5 minute balanced price range. Now, if I just show you on the left, you can see we also have a balanced price range in line with this order block right here. We have this fair value gap in line with the second overall fair value gap. So if I just go right, and as you can see, price has tapped into that area perfectly and also swept this additional high on the 5 minute time frame. So all we're going to do now is go down to the 1 minute time frame and stick to the system. Remember, we're going to go down to the 1 minute time frame, wait for that market structure shift with displacement, and then catch our entry. Now, the first area I'd look for is this low right here, because this is a fractal low, but let's see what price does. As you can see, price made a more obvious low with this candle's low right here. This would be our fractal low. This would be our market structure shift area. Now, a lot of people call this change of character, break of structure, all essentially the same thing. We're all looking for the same thing. Now we're going to mark out the fair value gap, and this is the only fair value gap in this example, so we'd mark it out right here, and all we're going to do, enter at the low of the fair value gap and place our stop loss above the high. Now, I'd place my stop loss above this wick in this example, and I like to target opposing liquidity, such as you could target this low right here for just over a 1 to 2.5, just under a 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio. And let's see how price tags us in. As you can see, price wicks into that area perfectly, and on the 5 minute time frame, if you just want to mark out that opposing liquidity, as you can see, we have a massive untapped liquidity pool with all of these relatively equal lows right here. You could call this trendline liquidity or relatively equal lows, whichever one you want to call it, but this would be an area which I would be very, very interested in, because as you can see, we have multiple lows right there that's untapped. Price did not sweep that, so this is going to be our sell side liquidity, which is untapped, which is what we're going to be targeting overall, because like I said, price has swept this overall liquidity from here. It swept the buy side, and now we're attacking the opposing liquidity, which is going to be the sell side. Keep it very simple, and as you can see, price perfectly taps into that area, giving you just under a 1 to 5.5 risk to reward ratio. Now, this just shows you the power of the strategy. You can take profit at a set risk to reward ratio, and remember, you don't have to go for the overall opposing liquidity all the time. You could just take profit at a set 2.5 risk to reward ratio. And remember to stick to the trading plan. If your trading plan tells you to look for confirmation at the level instead of just entering straight off it, wait for the confirmation. You will miss some trades by waiting for extra confirmation, but again, it's a more safe and confirmed entry, so that is definitely what I prefer to look for. And remember, if you can't see the liquidity, you are the liquidity. We always want to be waiting for a liquidity sweep before we enter our trades. As you can see, we had one liquidity sweep here, a secondary liquidity sweep there, and a third liquidity sweep right here. So 3 sets of liquidity were swept in this one trade example. So that's it for today's video, guys. Remember, don't overcomplicate it. Stick to the system. Literally stick to these set times, stick to these set rules, which I've made for you right here, and stick to these time frames. Remember to drop down and look for that confirmation on each time frame. Don't forget, if you want to get funded and you don't pay a single penny until after we pass the challenge for you, all you have to do is message Funded Fast on Telegram. To get started, we'll walk you through everything you need to know. So go ahead, send a message to Funded Fast on Telegram and join the Funded Fast service group. Remember, the signals room is on fire right now on a 7-day winning streak, so go ahead and join for $30 a month, literally $1 a day. You cannot go wrong. So I'll leave the link to this in the description below, so go ahead and join that. And remember, my completely free community will also be linked down below, so go ahead and join that. Drop a video suggestion in the comment section down below. Let me know which videos you want to see next. So that's it for today's video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.